Conjuration in Hunter x Hunter can either be the most broken Nen type or the weakest. Starting out with conjuring makes you the weakest, but if you can survive long enough to master it, you're basically a god. In order to help you guys really understand how Nen conjuring works, I'd have to explain the difference between a low tier conjurer and a high tier. A low tier conjurer is the weakest of the Nen types. Please keep in mind that I'm referring to a low tier conjurer. This is why Karapika was upset that he wasn't an enhancer. This is because if you're in a Nen fight, it takes a lot more Nen to conjure a physical object. Now, conventional weaponry is pretty useless in a Nen fight unless you use Shu and charge your weapon with it. If your opponent is coming at you with a Nen punch and all you have is a sword you just conjured, your opponent could easily break it and kill you. And what I mean by easily break it is not just your average sword breaking. The force of the Nen could potentially break the sword. So the dude wouldn't even have to connect a punch onto the sword and it would break due to the Nen pressure. And in order to prevent this, you'd have to have a strong enough Shu so that the pressure alone from his Nen punch won't break your sword. Now really think about this. Compared to charging a Nen punch, obviously just putting a shit ton of Nen into your fist, how much Nen do you think it would take to make a weapon like a sword, and then after making the sword, you charge that weapon that you just made with Nen with Shu? Compared to a punch with Ko, how much would that be? And the answer to that would be more than enough Nen to get you killed. The act of conjuring the sword alone would take a lot of Nen just to do. And this would inevitably take away from your Nen shield. And if you take that amount of Nen it took to conjure the object, and then you take into account the amount of aura you'd have to put into a strong enough Shu to match your opponent's Ko, you'd basically have no Nen shield left. Because you would have used all your Nen to conjure the sword and then code it in a Shu. And since you don't have enough Nen to maintain a defensive shield, the pressure from your opponent's punch alone would be enough to kill you, because all of your Nen would have been put into making the weapon in Shu rather than 10, or in English, your Nen shield. Keep in mind, this is the same Nen shield that you need at all times during a Nen fight. So to put this in base terms, just in case you don't understand, big Nen good and little Nen bad. And conjuring means little Nen, unless you have a disgusting pool of Nen. So your best option as a low tier conjurer would be able to make weapons for your squad of teammates rather than fighting yourself, until you become skilled enough to fight on your own. As a low tier conjurer, you must do imagery training until you conjure your first object. I'm not sure whether or not you'd have to do imagery training again if you want to conjure a new type of object. For example, what if Karapika wanted to conjure a gun? Would he have to go through the same imagery training again? And me personally, I doubt it, because it doesn't really seem like the other conjurers in the series have to continuously do imagery training. So it kind of seems like once you do the imagery training for the one time and start manifesting physical objects, you can basically make whatever you want from there. But if you have a personal attachment to the specific object that you're conjuring, like Karapika and his chains, that personal attachment that you have would make that conjured object stronger. Now, as for high tier conjuration, honestly, I'm just going to keep it simple. You're basically a god and you can make and alter anything on spot. Chidu, a low tier chimera ant, casually conjured a pocket dimension and then crossbow on spot. And considering he's a low tier chimera ant, being able to complete these feats, it really makes you wonder just how strong would a Nen master be. You guys remember in my last video about emission when I said emission was basically better conjuring? Well, just disregard that statement, because that was pretty much the dumbest thing I could ever think of. Outside of conjuring any animate or inanimate objects into the physical plane, keep in mind, I could never be more wrong, because conjuring isn't just bound by the physical plane. You can actually make objects in the fourth dimension and outside of the physical plane. Nav actually does this with his ability fourth dimensional mansion. The mansion does not exist in the physical world, so if he wanted to, he could trap you there forever. As a conjurer, this proves that you are not bound by the physical plane when you conjure whatever you want. It's really just crazy how much you can do with conjuring. I'm not even going to bother with any crazy examples because honestly, there's really no point to with conjuring. You're really only bound by yourself. You can literally be Giorno from JoJo with conjuration. Yes, Giorno from JoJo. Warp reality to what you see fit and make your own personal pocket dimension. It's so broken, it's really painful to imagine. The only issue would occur from you not being creative enough. If you can think it, you can literally just do it. You can literally take an object and change it into whatever you want it to be. Make your own animate or inanimate object from scratch. And not only do you make it from scratch, but you can make it fourth dimensional or make it entirely out of Nen. You are not bound by the physical plane in the slightest. With conjuration, you can literally turn water into wine, or make wine out of nothing along with the glass. Conjuring is so broken, I really just can't say anything else about it. At first, you start off as a fodder ass, and once you level up, you become a god. Turn a gun into snakes. Turn a rock into water. Make a house on spot. Turn dirt into food. Make animals out of grass. Make your own henchmen. It's literally anything you want. Anything. Alter the things around you. Make your own things and make things that do not exist in this dimension. What more do I have to say? Well, honestly, I thought Conjuring was the weakest one, but going over it, it's really the most broken. But anyways, tell me what you guys would basically do if you were God with Conjuring in Hunter x Hunter. So yeah, what abilities would you have? Like, I mean, let's keep it low tier in the comment section, because you know it'd be pretty easy to just make up a broken ass ability on the fly. But what would you do if you were with a squad of your friends and you were a conjurer and they had to fight for you? You know what? Fuck it, do both. Tell me what your high tier conjuring ability would be and what your low tier conjuring would be. That'd be cool. But anyways, that's it for today's video, and see you guys in the specialist video.